What's the difference between someone with Asperger's syndrome and someone with narcissistic personality disorder? Is there a difference? And could narcissistic personality disorder possibly fit on the autism spectrum? That's what we're talking about today at QueenBeing.com. Let's get started. My name is Angie Atkinson, and on this channel, I offer free daily video coaching to help you discover, understand, and overcome narcissistic abuse in toxic relationships. I like to call it toxic relationship rehab. If that sounds good to you, hit that subscribe button and let's get going. So someone in a recent morning chat asked me, it was last week, asked me to define the difference between narcissistic personality disorder and autism spectrum disorder. Specifically, they pointed out Asperger's syndrome. I didn't feel at that time like I knew really enough about this issue to fully discuss it. So I said what I thought.
Casey Forgets says, well, after having been in a relationship for 2 years now with a narcissist, I'm now in a relationship with someone who is autistic. Ooh, I'm wondering if you've done research on the differences in autism versus narcissism. That is an interesting question, my love, and I'm going to tell you what, I've done a little bit of research in that, but I would love to do some more and make a video. Okay, so I'm putting it on my list and I want you to stay tuned because I know that autistic people typically sometimes seem to be, I'm guessing your person is on the lower end of the spectrum, you know, because they don't have the same kind of concerns in so many ways that we do, that you know, that I don't want to say regular people, but people who don't have autism tend to have more social concerns and care more about what other people think. And so, and if you speak to someone with autism, you know, and you say, I don't like your hair, they may not be offended by that. And therefore, if they said to you, I don't like your hair and it might hurt your feelings, they don't understand why it would hurt your feelings because it wouldn't hurt their feelings. So I don't think that they're not capable of empathy. I just think that they typically tend to not be as concerned about the same sort of things as everyone else. And so they sort of seem like they don't have empathy when they speak to you very factually. But if it's someone with, you know, I'm guessing you're dealing with someone with Asperger's, I'm writing it on my list because I think that's a really interesting thing. I'd love to research it some more. I have a bunch of moms in my group who have autistic children, and I think that's a really good question, Casey. I will make a video for you. Casey says officially diagnosed Asperger's. Okay. Body and Soul says autistic people don't have ulterior motives like the narc. That is a very excellent point. There it goes. Okay. I want to read this whole comment to you because this is very good insight. That's exactly what I was trying to say, but I couldn't say it as well as Body and Soul says it. Well, so let me just read you her comment. It says, autistic people don't have ulterior motives like the narcissist. Their neurology makes them seem as though they have little empathy, but they actually just don't have the ability to always read facial expressions accurately, etc. Thank you. That is very well put, and I'm really happy that you said that because that helps clarify what I was trying to say in my bumbly way. Thank you very much, Body and Soul. That's very insightful. Judy says, my husband thinks he has a bit of Asperger's. He definitely has PTSD diagnosed from Iraq. Oh, that's a difficult situation. And welcome back. I am Erica Blaze. Please do a lot of research on people on the autism spectrum. There is no comparison to narcissism. Right. I think that is true. I think it's true. I think that even though on the outside, some people may not understand what the issue is or why people don't react the same way that average people do who don't have autism. I really believe that there is no comparison. I don't believe these people are narcissistic at all. I don't even think they could be if they wanted to be. I don't think they're as self-focused as you may suspect. I think that comment that I just read from Body and Soul, what she said was totally on point. I think that's exactly what I was trying to say when I was saying they don't care about the same things as other people, but I didn't even think about the fact that they can't read faces very well. And that's another valid point.
And I promised that I would do some research and make this video. So here I am, and here's the video. It turns out there's been a lot written on this topic, and it appears that happened because there is a commonly misunderstood issue at play here. As you're probably well aware, narcissists don't seem to have much, if any, true empathy for people in their lives, people outside themselves. That is, they don't seem to really care how their behavior affects the people in their lives, nor do they care how it makes them feel, and they don't seem to understand why people feel the way they feel about various situations in their lives. Narcissists don't feel people the way you and I do, so to speak, and in the same way that you might feel if you are, like me, an empath. Narcissists don't have that feeling. The issue that's misunderstood is not related to narcissists, not in this case, but it's related to people who have Asperger's syndrome. See, there's a commonly held but totally incorrect belief that people with Asperger's syndrome also don't have empathy. But according to my research and according to what everyone who knows someone with Asperger's tells me, that's false. That couldn't be further from the truth. According to what people have said to me, according to people who understand the syndrome, according to my research, various studies, various psychological studies that have been done, people with autism spectrum disorder tend to be incredibly empathic. Specifically with Asperger's, they tend to be incredibly empathic. The disconnect is not directly with their emotions, see, but with the way they express those emotions. So as I understand it, people with Asperger's tend to have trouble with verbal expression of their feelings. And they also seem like they struggle to read faces. So that can cause them to appear narcissistic to the untrained eye, see? But according to what I've learned, the difference here is that people with Asperger's syndrome do feel emotions. And according to some researchers, maybe more deeply than your average person, maybe more deeply than someone who is considered neurotypical. But they can become quite overwhelmed with the emotions because they can't express them. And combined with that fact, the struggle to communicate effectively, along with the inability to read faces, this often causes someone with Asperger's to simply withdraw from the situation. So if you didn't know better, you might think they don't care, but that couldn't be further from the truth. So what are the differences between the two conditions then? We can't discuss the differences without also discussing the similarities, unfortunately. So let's start there. From what I gather, narcissists, meaning someone with NPD, narcissistic personality disorder, and those with Asperger's are both goal-focused, often to a fault. That's a similarity. They may also appear to not care how people feel about what they say or do. But the key difference here is that your average narcissist truly does not give a rat's ass about the way people feel. Excuse me for saying it that way. But a narcissist may even take pleasure in hurting people emotionally. But someone with Asperger's syndrome would truly prefer not to hurt you at all, or anyone they care about. As you know, my advice to someone who is dealing with an NPD person, a severe case, is to go no contact if necessary in order to save yourself, especially when that person is abusing you mentally and physically, or physically, either way. But when it comes to someone with Asperger's, the best course of action isn't always so clear. See, because even though you might take a person with Asperger's syndrome a certain way, maybe you'll take it very personally. You find yourself feeling emotional pain as a result of it. But the thing is, if the person with Asperger's doesn't mean it personally, it's really not right for you to take it that way. It's almost unethical to do so. Does that make sense? So what I mean is that it's not reasonable or fair to treat someone who is just not able to communicate their feelings well enough to express them in a way that you understand, as though they are intentionally trying to hurt you. That's not helping them. It's not helping you. And it just isn't the case in this situation. So rather than reacting harshly and yelling at someone with Asperger's syndrome, you should try to be calm and talking to them and explain to them, hey, this is how your behavior affected me. Specifically, when you said I had ugly hair, I felt sad or upset by that. It's not nice to say that to people. If you explain this to someone with Asperger's on a logical level and offer a potential alternative for the next similar interaction, then you can actually help them to change and grow for the next time this thing occurs, whether it's with you or someone else. While someone with Asperger's might be weak in certain areas, they are strong in other areas. And they are capable of learning new ways of coping and dealing with people. And in many cases, this is especially true if you ask them and speak to them in a respectful manner, as though they are an equal to you, a person who is equal to you, because they are a person who is equal to you, my friend. They just have a different way of dealing with things, a different type of wiring, really. This brings me to another big difference between someone with a narcissistic personality disorder and someone with Asperger's syndrome. If you do come forward to these people and you ask them to stop their behaviors or change their behaviors, here's how it goes. If you come to someone with Asperger's or someone with narcissist and you try to discuss their behavior with them, what happens is, well, a narcissist will deny any weakness and play mind games with you, often attempting to gaslight you so that you doubt your own self and your own thoughts and your own experiences. Someone with Asperger's is likely to be surprised by your request or to be surprised by your feelings. They didn't know they were hurting your feelings usually. And they will usually, here's the big thing. Someone with Asperger's will have genuine remorse for what happened. They didn't really mean to hurt you. The person with Asperger's is only trying to continue moving toward their goals here. And they generally aren't known to ever want to hurt anyone, especially not someone they care about. Of course, all of this is contrary to what one British psychiatrist says. He says that NPD should be on the autism spectrum. I'm not kidding. I found an article on Psychology Today that features this guy's opinions. His name is Dr. Khalid Mansour. I don't know if it's Mansour or but it's spelled like man sour. So I'm going to say Mansour. It's probably wrong. Anyway, I'm just going to share a few of his points with you really quickly. So originally in an article in the Pan-Arab Journal of Psychiatry, he says exactly that. He says that the narcissistic personality disorder could deserve classification as an autism spectrum disorder. Now, I can't lie to you, I've wondered about this before. He writes, there's now a significant level of agreement that emotional processing problems like lack of empathy, poor self-awareness, self-centeredness, poor reciprocation of emotion, poor ability to maintain emotional relationships, anxiety, and anger outbursts are more or less central features of autism. So if you just saw that paragraph that I just read to you, would you feel like he was discussing NPD or autism? According to him, it is a description of both not narcissism or narcissistic personality disorder and autism spectrum disorders. He also quotes from the ICM-10 listing these features of autism: self-centeredness, inappropriate to developmental level and cultural expectations, poor self-awareness, poor ability to develop remorse or learn from mistakes, poor empathy or appreciation of others' feelings, poor ability to reciprocate emotions, hostile dependency on safe relations, failure to develop appropriate emotional relationships that are appropriate to developmental level and societal norms, treating people as objects or preferring objects over people. Again, the list, to be fair, sounds a little bit like narcissism, right? Dr. Mansour concludes that it is noticeable that people with NPD do not show a major degree of functioning problems in stress-free environments or when they are supported, except that they are perceived as not pleasant characters to deal with. However, under stress and without support, they can become quite dysfunctional in a way not far from what we usually see in Asperger's syndrome. So what does all that mean? Well, if you ask me, the good doctor may be a little off base, my friend. But what do I know? After all, I'm not a psychiatrist, and based on what I've learned about these two conditions, I respectfully disagree with the idea that this psychiatrist has put forward. I believe he's mistaken, and here's why. I think that the fact that people with Asperger's lacked empathy, according to him, is wrong. As I explained earlier in this video, people with Asperger's do have empathy. They just don't know how to express it properly. So in my opinion, this fact in his own reports, that the fact that he leans on this as one of his facts kind of negates the whole deal to me. Do I think that do I think that NPD belongs on the autism spectrum? Maybe, but I don't think so. I think not. And it's because I think the simple fact that people with Asperger's have empathy negates the idea. Not to mention the other differences between the two, which I can cover more extensively in another video if you're interested. So if you are, let me know in the comments and I'll give you an Asperger's versus NPD video, count for count. This, of course, brings me to the question of the day. And the question of the day is, you tell me, what do you think? Could this psychiatrist be onto something? Or do you agree with those who say that people with Asperger's are quite empathic, but that they lack the ability to communicate their feelings effectively? And combined with their trouble reading faces, maybe they just simply appear to have a lack of empathy and confuse people. I'd like you to share your thoughts and your experiences in the comments below and let me know. I'd love to get a meaningful conversation going here. Because the fact is that people with Asperger's syndrome, in my opinion, are not narcissists. But the other question is, do narcissists deserve to be on the autism spectrum scale? It's interesting. Tell me your thoughts in the comments below. Let's talk about it. That's all I've got for you for now. I'll see you tomorrow for another video. Have a wonderful day. As always, thanks so much for being a part of my day and a part of my life. And hey, thanks for letting me be a part of yours. It really does mean a lot to me. I'll see you soon.
It's my mission to teach others what I know to be true. You really can create the life you want. Take care of your body, Take care of your soul, nurture the real you, and introduce him or her to the world. Be comfortable in your own skin and in your place in this world. Take your spot, take it now, and the universe will take its cue from you. You feel me? If so, subscribe to my channel. Let's get it done together.